What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Johnny. Back in here with one more reaction video, ladies and gentlemen. And today we got a video coming from the YouTube channel Academy of Ideas. If you don't know about that channel, I'll link it in the description box below. But true story, I feel like I've learned more from that channel than I ever did sitting in a classroom, elementary, middle school, or high school. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Get yourself on there now. As I've said, the goal is to reach 1 million subscribers and start 1 million thought-provoking conversations. However, if we can reach that 100 million mark and start 100 million thought-provoking conversations, I believe we can kill the narratives in the world. We're just spirits encased in human flesh trying to figure out this thing called life. Not nearly as divided as the mainstream media would like you to think. So if you like what you hear in this video, please share the message far and wide. Without further ado, let's check out anxiety and depression.
Learn more at academyofideas.com/members. Attention is not just another cognitive function. Attention is how our world comes into being for us. The altered nature of attention can appear to abolish parts of the world, collapse time and space, and eviscerate emotion. It is a profoundly moral act. The world we experience is shaped by how we direct our attention. For reality is too complex, and we are too limited to attend to but a sliver of all that exists. Attend to one sliver of reality and we experience one type of world. Alter our attentional capacities, change what we attend to, and we change the very world we experience. It is undisputed by neuropsychologists and philosophers, writes the psychiatrist Ian McGilchrist, that the type and extent of attention we pay changes the nature of the world that we experience. This simple assertion has profound implications, for it means that there are many possible worlds for each of us to experience. Some of these worlds are conducive to a life well lived, others are not. In this video, we are going to explore the role that attention plays in the creation of the experiential world of anxiety disorders and depression, as this knowledge can help us overcome these diseases of despair. Chronic anxiety and depression can be caused by a myriad of factors, from biological predispositions to elements of our environment, to the influence of depressed or anxious parents, or simply a cruel twist of fate. The triggers are many and varied. But whatever the cause, once these forms of distress take root, they are perpetuated and exacerbated by a maladaptive way of attending to the world.
Now, how many Americans currently today are living in a stressful environment? Whether it's at home, whether it's the news they turn on to, whether it's their social media feed, we're constantly bombarded with negativity 24/7, 365. That's why I say, man, disconnect from this world. Sit still and have a conversation with your inner self. Get outside, drink water, take vitamins, because you need to find some hope, or you will be pulled down by everything around you.
To understand the attentional stance that drives anxiety and depression, we will begin with the analogy of the look versus the stare. For these two ways of visually attending to the world mirror the overall difference between a healthy way of deploying our attention and the way that perpetuates anxiety and depression. Consider the difference between looking and staring, writes Susan Sontag. A look is voluntary. It is also mobile, rising and falling in intensity as its foci of interest are taken up and then exhausted. A stare has, essentially, the character of a compulsion. It is steady, lacking in variation, and fixed. Or as the psychiatrist Louis Sass explains, the look is closer to the natural attitude of everyday life. Emanating from a secure base and rooted in the lived body, it travels within a stable horizon. It is natural, capturing reality as conventionally and pragmatically conceived. The stare, by contrast, is rigid and fixed. The stare is rigid, fixed, compulsive, and lacks variation, and so too is the attentional stance of depressed and anxious individuals. This is most obvious at the level of the psyche. For a healthy mind, it displays a variation in thought patterns. Sometimes the focus is on the good, sometimes the bad, sometimes the neutral. The depressed or anxious mind, however, lacks this variation and instead is rigidly and compulsively attuned to negative patterns of thought. The anxiety-ridden individual, for example, obsesses over potential threats and ruminates on all that could go wrong in life. Depression, on the other hand, is characterized by a selective attention and exaggeration of negative experiences of what is going wrong in one's life, rather than what is going right. This compulsive focus on the bad creates a narrowed experiential world, as the good in life is ignored and the potential for good is denied. But this maladaptive attentional stance is not limited to the realm of the psyche, for as Alexander Lowen wrote, since psyche and soma are like the two sides of a coin, head and tail, what goes on in one realm also occurs in the other. A healthy individual will attend to the world with their body in a graceful and spontaneous manner. Depressed and anxious individuals do so in a rigid manner. A stooped posture, a caved-in chest, tightened fists, a clenched jaw, all are reflections of the embodiment of anxiety and depression. And these ways of attending to the world with the body not only reflect the state of the psyche, but also magnify feelings of tension, anxiety, sadness, or depression.
What I can say is, before I had evolved and divorced myself from my past, I know what it's like to have severe anxiety and to be standing at work pretending that everything is okay. You falling apart inside your head, but you standing around your friends and your peers pretending that you're fine, only to go home and fall apart. You know, when my second son passed away, I went back to work 3 days later. I was broken, but I had a false I'm okay, I don't need to grieve. I was depressed, crazy depressed. When my mom overdosed, I was crazy depressed. So I understand what it's like to walk around in this world pretending that you're something that you're not, pretending that you're happier than you are. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I want to encourage more people, just be true to who you are. What you feel is okay. But until you make the unconscious conscious, you'll repeat it over and over again, and you'll just say that's fate. And I think that you can have a better life, but you have to address the issues that are causing you to be sad or to having depression or have anxiety or whatever is going on. You can change, you can overcome, your entire life can get better, I promise. Faith, consistency, and hard work. Always believe in yourself, never quit on yourself.
If a person has a strong and secure sense of himself, writes Lowen, he will naturally stand erect. If he is frightened, he will tend to cower. If he is sad or depressed, his body will droop. If he is trying to deny or compensate for inner feelings of insecurity, he will stand like a martinet, and his posture will be unnaturally rigid. In addition to attending to the outer world with a rigid body, and to the inner world with a rigid focus on negative thoughts, the behavior of depressed and anxious individuals is also rigid. Why move forward in life if each step is accompanied by catastrophizing thoughts in a body that generates feelings of tension, anxiety, and depression? Why take the risks that produce a fulfilling life if you believe you are destined to fail? Depressed and anxious individuals lack a healthy variation in patterns of behavior, preferring passivity and avoidance to novelty and the facing up to challenges. This rigidity in mind, body, and behavior creates a self-perpetuating feedback loop. Negative thoughts rigidify the body. A rigid body leads to increased negative feelings, and this acts as a barrier to constructive action. Or to phrase it in a different manner, avoiding normal modes of action promotes the negative thought patterns of anxiety and depression. These negative thought patterns rigidify the body, and these forms of thought and embodiment then further undermine healthy modes of action. Retreat from life leads to regression, and regression heightens resistance to life. To escape the downward spiral of depression and anxiety necessitates a broadening of attentional faculties to counteract the shrinking of our experiential world and the rigidification of our body. For the alternative is to descend into a stagnant and constricting existence, and to lose contact with a healthy flow of life. Whenever an individual's sense of the flow of life has come to a stop or been frozen, that person can no longer realize himself, no longer mature, and will lose the capacity to make emotional contact with others. But how can we achieve this task when stuck in patterns of thought, embodiment, and behavior that all feed upon each other and pull us further down into despair? In the final video of this series, we will explore this question. To find the richest view of the world, writes McGilchrist, the one that seems truest to the world as a whole, in the sense that it resonates with our experience in the richest way, the imaginative exercise of inhabiting a number of points of view is required. Learn more about our membership, access transcripts, and
And for what I can say, like 100% for myself, for me to overcome my anxiety and my depression, I had to face it. Like it was nothing more than facing everything that I had went through in life and looking back and not judging it, but understanding what I learned from it, what I learned from growing up in poverty, what I learned from my mom and dad having domestic violence. You know, you feel insecure when your mom is on Section 8 her whole life. You feel insecure when you get food stamps because you can't brag about it. It's something that gets joked of, it gets made fun of, and now it's becoming oddly normal of being on government assistance. But when I was a kid, I was extremely insecure about it. And what I also learned is that a lot of people that are overweight now, that's depression. Because the more you mentally let things go, the weight will fall off your body as well. And I don't make this content to judge anybody. I say we're all human. And I view everybody as I view myself, as we all have greatness inside of us and we all are genius. But along this thing called life, something happened and knocked us off our path. And a lot of people just don't get back up. But also, no one ever tells them, hey, you know you can get back up and keep going. So they think that they have to stay down and be a victim. And our society breeds off victim mentality. And the highest human act is to inspire. I just want people to know, as Les Brown say, man, if you fall down, at least fall on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. There are no limits in life outside the limits you set on yourself. Faith, consistency, and hard work. And the world is yours. Everything you see around you started as an idea. And you only need one idea for that $1 million, for that 5 million, for that 10 million, whatever your big goals are, whatever your big dreams are. You can manifest it into reality. Spread love, spread positive vibes. Till next time, we out. Peace.